Welcome to the BuyBox Experts podcast. We bring to light the unique opportunities brands face in today's e-commerce world.
Hi, I'm James Thompson, one of the hosts of the BuyBox Experts podcast. I'm a partner with BuyBox Experts and the former business head of the Selling on Amazon team at Amazon, as well as the first account manager for the Fulfillment by Amazon program. I'm the co-author of a couple of books on Amazon, including the recent book, Controlling Your Brand in the Age of Amazon. Today's episode is brought to you by BuyBox Experts. BuyBox Experts takes ambitious brands and makes them unbeatable. When you hire BuyBox Experts, you receive the strategy optimization and marketing performance to succeed on Amazon. We also support investors with due diligence services. Go to buyboxexperts.com to learn more. Before I introduce our guest today, I want to send a big shout out to the team at Getida, a global leader in Amazon FBA auditing and reimbursements. Getida analyzes your Amazon data, reconciles your FBA inventory, and files claims for reimbursements on your behalf. To learn more, check out getida.com. Our guest today is Christian Salza, Managing Director of Berlin Brands, a firm that acquires and grows brands that leverage the Amazon channel. At Berlin Brands, Christian manages M&A responsibilities, identifying, vetting, and acquiring brands. Prior to Berlin Brands, Christian was in senior roles at multiple firms that built and sold brands online. Christian, welcome, and thank you for joining us today on the BuyBox Experts podcast.
Hello, happy to be here.
Christian, I want to start our conversation today by asking you about these private label brands that are now a very hot commodity. What do you think has happened to create so much interest in these types of businesses when private label brands have actually been around on the Amazon marketplace for 20 years?
Yes, so obviously we have seen a lot of changes in the e-commerce platforms or in the e-commerce world over the last few years. The pandemic has already accelerated that. And so there's number one, there's a much bigger market, and also number two, there's a much higher demand, and also there's a higher profitability. You know, a couple of years back, a lot of e-commerce businesses were actually not making money, especially in Europe. There were deficit businesses, and the good thing about Amazon businesses and Amazon FBA businesses that they actually are being much more profitable, and also therefore are an opportunity for these sellers, for these acquirers. And so what we see right now is that we believe that there's a lot of individual Amazon sellers out there that have built their brand and have done that quite successfully. They would also benefit from, because it gets more and more complicated to actually succeed. You need to be an expert in so many different fields that they would benefit from selling it, and actually have a professional team taking that over. But also in regards to BBG, we don't only take over your brand on Amazon, but we pretty much take it over for entire Europe and manage it on more than 100 channels in more than 28 countries. And so that's obviously an opportunity for the seller to really benefit from our distribution network and our logistical infrastructure, and therefore that's a win-win for both. And we buy something that's already profitable but a little bit smaller, we put it on our platform, we scale it globally, and then it's a big win for both of us.
What do you think is going to happen in the next couple of years as more investors come in looking at private label brands? And different types of investors are starting to come in as well. Your more traditional PE firms and even some family offices and venture capital firms.
Yeah, so what we see right now is there's many people coming in. Obviously, there have been this, business model has been created. Thrasio, obviously, being early, and there have been a lot of Me Too, copycat kind of business models. What differentiates us from this is that we are really, we are brand people, we are product people, and we've been around for 15 years. And, what we do well is, focus on building brands and feel passionate about it, and then scaling them on other channels. And I think those people who will do that successfully will also succeed going forward. I think the people who just come in with a financial lens, trying to do a quick multiple arbitrage, buy them, try to optimize them sub well because they don't have the skill set, they don't have the team, and they don't have the patience and the passion to really be product focused, I think those guys will probably not be as successful as those guys who continue to focus on the product side. So I think there will be the ones that are financially focused. I think they will probably have it a little bit more difficult versus the guys that are really passionate about brands and are focusing on really making the product better and doing the better thing for the consumer. So companies like us, I think, will succeed. Yes, and from a seller side, I also believe that the market will become more and more competitive because now you have more. You had the individuals trying to do an Amazon business. Now you have people seeing, whoa, I can actually do an Amazon business and sell it quickly. Yes. So also there will be a lot more competition. And again, I think the ones who will succeed are the ones who identify the niches the best, service the customers the best, and also build the best brands. And I think that's a combination of skill sets, and not everybody has it. So it might be some financially driven acquirers who may not survive, but it also may be that some Amazon sellers right now say, you know what, this is getting really cutthroat competitive right now. So I'd rather use the opportunity to sell my brand right now.
One of the comments I heard from a brand that was thinking about selling, they said, if I don't sell now and one of my competitors gets purchased and all of a sudden all this new investment goes into my competitor, I'm going to be at a serious disadvantage. And so do I want to be in a situation where my market share starts to fall because one of my competitors gets purchased first? Certainly some interesting challenges around thinking through when's the right time to sell.
Yeah. Yes, it's really the it's kind of like a war game strategy, the art of war, when do you do what move and what anticipate the competitive move. What we can definitely see is that, the bets are getting bigger. You also, in order to succeed, you need to place bigger bets. That means a lot more money at risk, also from an inventory perspective. And of course, when big companies also like us come in, what is the first thing we do? We buy more stuff, right? Buy more inventory.
Yeah.
And in order, so in terms of like in stock, being able to still be on the top with a high out of stock range, those times will probably be over. So the game is definitely changing.
Let me ask you, while you've had the opportunity prior to Berlin Brands to build brands of your own online and participate in that space, what kinds of issues have surprised you the most working with entrepreneurs who are playing in the Amazon space?
I think it wasn't really surprising, but I think what was a good fact that we confirmed is that a lot of these people are, of the sellers, feel very passionate about their brand. They spend a lot of time, personal effort on identifying an opportunity and then going after it and doing this very well, and being on all the time. The successful people are on all the time, and they're very, very, very committed. So you can say that, that was a surprise, but on the other hand, it's also kind of expected because it's so competitive, right? So, but I would say, most of them are super passionate about their brands, dedicated, kind of, and there's two types. One is actually the housewife kind of thing. I needed a job and I wanted to make some extra money fast, so I decided to sell, I don't know, yoga mats online. And today I had 2 calls with 2 younger people, university graduate, straight from college, studying technology and economics. Like super smart guy, three guys working for IT consulting companies just quit their job and saying, hey, now we're going to go full throttle and we're going to conquer that Amazon game. So you really have these two different types of profiles, which is also, you can say, like, you probably, if you're an individual, you don't want to compete with 3 students with a significant math background, access to funding, versus, the ones that do it kind of by themselves. So the market is definitely changing.
So let me ask you this. There are all these new entrepreneurs coming onto Amazon, building their own brands. Once upon a time, they were coming in to build jobs for themselves. Now they're seeing the opportunity to build serious businesses with potentially a financially rewarding exit. How does an investment group like yours help leverage some of that early enthusiasm in these entrepreneurs as they're just getting started?
Yeah, so when we look at these brands and we look at this, and this is also how we value them, because we often get the questions like, how do you actually value us? What multiplier do you use? The common question is like, we don't really use multipliers. Of course, we have our own, investment methodology, but what we're trying to do is actually simulate kind of what your product is doing on our platform. So we kind of know, okay, we know how big your category is. We know what kind of search volume we can estimate on Amazon, as well as on Amazon, other marketplaces, as well as on our own shops. Then we simulate the growth that we can see. And this is really also what we're gonna, this is the value that we are creating by putting you on our platform, and we let you participate it. But of course, we are keeping some of the value also. So what we are doing really is buying proven winners, because the items that are on top on Amazon are good products in general. They're good products, they have good reviews, they have been able to succeed in a competitive environment. So that's a check mark for us. So we take good top sellers. So check mark for us. And then we say, okay, now we're going to put you on a different kind of platform and going to launch you an our thing. And then the likelihood of this being successful is obviously super duper high. And that's how we can capture value.
So let me ask you, with many of the new investors coming in, they are specifically looking to FBA brokers to source deals initially. And as the investors become more sophisticated, there are other ways of being able to find brands that are potentially interesting to pursue. I talked with one colleague of mine who is a very successful brand, top of category in his particular subcategory. And he said he literally was getting a call a week from some investor saying, I've been watching you and now I want to buy your business. Talk to me a little bit about how you think about this balance between using brokers, building tools of your own to go and source brands that don't even realize they're being pursued. How do you think about finding deals where others may not be thinking about going to find deals?
Yeah, I think what is important here, I think that for every party involved, is that you have a balance, right? From the seller perspective, if you're being bombarded all the time with the same message, probably feels a little bit awkward. But also from you as a acquirer, you need to think about different strategies, right? So what we are doing is, number one, we do things like today, where we talk about what we do well and why we are so successful, and that is intriguing. Especially for Americans to say, you know what, I always wanted to go to Europe. I thought I would never be able to make it alone. But hey, with BBG, bam, I have an opportunity to do this. So we do this type of stuff. We also approach the brands directly. We also develop strong relationships with brokers, because it happens, of course, that some say, you know what, I rather do it with a broker. I think it's actually not necessary if you have good advisors. But if you have done some transaction history, but I think some will always come through a broker. So of course, we always tend to also develop a strong relationship with the brokers, and we are doing it in terms of like, how do we find them? So we have, of course, the brokers. We have our inbound kind of campaign, like based on this, people will contact us and say, hey, Christian, I've seen you, I've seen Peter, I've heard about this brand that sold to you. So that's obviously also a big thing. And then, of course, we are also looking and monitoring categories on Amazon and sellers on Amazon. And then if we do find them, very intriguing, then we reach out to them as well. And so we analyze them. And that's, I think, the combination of all these things rounds it kind of up. And that's the approach that we're using. And yes, we're looking for sellers really between 100 and so 1 million and 100 million. So we can really do small and big. We can do also all kinds of transaction sizes. And yeah, by doing all this, we've been able to be very successful.
Let me ask you this: when you, because of all the inbound and all the different types of companies that you're reviewing, you get to see companies in all different shapes of actually being ready to sell. I'd love to get your thoughts on the 2 or 3 things you wish more private label brands would do before they actually go to market and start having conversations about, do you want to buy my brand?
Yeah, so I think, there's one thing. If you proactively want to sell, I would ask you and expect you to kind of have your books ready, have when you want to sell your house, you make it pretty, right? You tidy the rooms, you mow the lawn,
Yeah.
you do some painting, so I think if you want to sell your business proactively, I think do that. There's also something to be said about having the Amazon accounts, either be it seller board or seller central accounts, so have that clean so people can really, once they dock onto this kind of information, have a full picture of what's really going on. So the cost of goods sold can be uploaded there. So there are a lot of things that can make this transaction a little bit easier and how you prepare it. And of course, one thing that we always look forward to when or one aspect that we specifically also focus on if we talk to specific sellers is, what's actually your inventory planning? If you tell me you wanted to grow to, let's say, 3 million, but you only purchased stock for 2 million, that shows me a gap. If you say, hey, I'm super confident, I want to do it, then it's we can see that you really bet on this also, and that you believe it. So these are aspects that are quite important for us. And in terms of preparation, really have your stuff in order, have the numbers ready, and then, but a lot of stuff we can actually do, and others also can do from outside in. But numbers clean, inventory planning straight. Those are probably one of the top things that come to mind.
Brands want to be able to become bigger household names. Unlike most aggregators, you're already operating in dozens of marketplaces. You've got warehouses, you've got web shops, you've got a mechanism by which you can take a successful brand from one marketplace and quickly push it out to many other marketplaces if it makes sense. How do you think about this process of sourcing brands that are going to have broad appeal to broad marketplaces?
Yes, so this is really what we're doing. I mean, the marketplaces also have sizes, right? So every marketplace has its own size. Every marketplace has its own, let's say, demand, and the demand you can often measure, right? So keywords, how many hits, how many keywords requests you're getting, and so we know this, and we also do this, and can kind of estimate that, and that's really how we are assessing it, and how we are also deciding on which brand do we actually push in which marketplace. Let's assume we buy a brand that has placed inventory for, they're currently doing, let's say, 2 million, place inventory for 3 million, but if I put them on the entire platform, I could do 5 million.
Yes.
Now then I need to decide, okay, where do I put them first? And of course I put them on the marketplaces first, where I have the easiest, the biggest potential market, right? So and then I kind of grow them this way. So this is kind of part of our DNA, and also part of our launch plan and integration plan. So to really go through it in detail, and also decide that also with the founders. So we actually bring you up to date in terms of first stabilize the business, then launch it to the next biggest marketplaces, then we kind of scale later.
That's very exciting for brands that have only had the opportunity to focus on one marketplace and potentially, maybe one more. You're looking beyond just Amazon as well. You're looking at marketplaces not called Amazon, which is, again, a little unusual for many of the aggregators, where they are so Amazon centric. How do you think about the world of these literally hundreds of other marketplaces out there that are not called Amazon? How do you think about where they fit in relative to Amazon US, Amazon Germany, Amazon UK? There are some very big established Amazon marketplaces, and yet there are other big marketplaces beyond Amazon that most brand sellers don't understand, most investors don't understand. You've got that expertise. How do you explain to some of the potential brands that you're looking to buy that there is a world beyond Amazon?
Yeah, that's a very good question, James. So, luckily, I mean, on one thing it's good, on one thing, everything the good comes with the bad, right? So Amazon in the US is super successful, right? So we see market shares of 50%, kind of on the online space. In Europe, if we look at all the different markets, so broader Europe, including all online, right? So then Amazon is actually only at a 20% market share. Of course, in different countries, in Germany, for example, they have probably the highest market share than, in entire Europe. But there's still a lot of potential to be captured by other people and other players. And especially when you look at, Eastern European markets, Poland, Slovakia, Czech, the entire Nordic regions, Amazon is not there or have just started to enter, like Sweden or Poland, and they're super small. And for example, Amazon Germany is 14% of our sales. The total Amazon is 40% of our sales, right? So you can imagine the rest is all the majority, and we are yet within the top 5. We actually don't know which number we are, but we're within the top 5 of Amazon sellers in Europe, right? So, but yet only 40% of our sales is Amazon. So
it's amazing. That's amazing.
So it is quite interesting, and and I think the difference between Europe is that you have also so many different countries, you have so many different languages, you have different VAT requirements. If you think about what you have to do in the States, cross-state border, it's much more complicated in Europe if you want to go cross-border. And so therefore there will always be a hurdle for others to climb in order to capture that market share. And the same is true for Amazon. Amazon cannot just say, hey, you know what, now I'm going to do Holland, Belgium, Austria, Switzerland, Czech, Slovakia, Poland, all at the same time. It doesn't work. Maybe eventually they will get there, but there's still Turkey, huge market in Europe. There's still Portugal, so there's other markets where people don't buy on Amazon yet, and then there's France where people actually would like to continue to buy local, right? So there's actually a big initiative happened on Black Friday, where the French actually didn't participate in the Black Friday. I don't know if you've heard about this, but they didn't, right? So there's other movements. So therefore, the local players will always be around. And if you know how to deal with them, if you know how they work, if you know how to connect to them, if you know how to push your products into them, you will always be more successful than the ones who bet on Amazon. Not a bad bet, but obviously you have much more potential if you bet on the other market players also, who will still be around.
So let me ask you this. I'm sure you get this question regularly as part of the conversation with prospective brands looking to sell. They will ask the question, should I exit now or should I wait a little longer and continue to grow my business before I sell? How do you think about helping brands get the timing right so that they don't leave significant money on the table and yet they can free themselves from the onerous task of actually having to manage their business?
Yeah. So I think we do have this discussion quite often. I think at the end of the day, why would you not sell right now? Because you're afraid you're selling too low. That's the underlying assumption, right? Mm-hmm. Why do you think that? Because you think there's a significant additional value that you can capture that is not being incorporated in the price that you're being currently offered. So that's pretty much the reason why people are waiting.
Yes.
So then the question is, do you think there are parties and there are sellers like us who actually can see your growth trajectory and feel comfortable saying, you know what, I believe in that. I confirm that. And with you coming on our platform, I can certainly, also price that in, and there are some that can and some that cannot. And so I think the number one thing is to understand is like, who should I sell to, and will they be able to actually price in the potential that I see, right? So I think that's the number one thing you need to decide if you want to sell now, and who do you sell to? And then the other question is if, we have all seen a significant growth right now, retail stores being closed. Mm-hmm. If you ask people what was your biggest problem last year, everybody will probably say out of stock. But guess what? That's not how it's going to stay.
Yeah.
There will be overstock at some point again, and there will be, as I just said, there will be the team of entrepreneurs who maybe have already some brands who also will get some funding because the investors see they can exit, right? So the competition will be getting tougher and the bets are getting bigger. And if you now feel like, and we do have some of these sellers, if you now say, you know what, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to bet. And instead of, one container, I'm going to buy 3 containers now for the summer season. And then I'm going to make it, and then what happens? A ship, closes the Suez Canal,
Yeah,
and then what happens? You don't get access to your products, but you have the capital is sitting on that ship, and you're still running out of shop, and you need to pay this one, and you can't pay because you can't generate. So what I'm saying is the stakes get higher, and if you feel comfortable doing this, then keep doing it. If you feel like, what, competition is getting tougher, I'm noticing it, because you will notice it, because all you're trying to do is manage your rankings, and you are seeing already that the competition is getting tougher. And if you're at a point where you see, you know what, I'm not sure if I'm up for that, then it's the right time to sell. If you're feeling that the bets are getting too high, that I have to put too much on the table right now, that I'm risking actually everything versus putting something in my saving vault, in my personal retirement account,
yes,
and putting some back to the business potentially. If you feel like if you can play high stake poker and you want to do it, right? But there are a lot of you out there that probably say, you know what, maybe it's a good time to sell. The pandemic just, made you grow. Retail stores will open again. People will love to go shopping again. So I think this party will be not over, but we will probably plateau. But then at some point there will be enough inventory in the market, and then it will be getting a tougher game. And ideally, you get out beforehand.
So how does Berlin Brands remain successful through the long run? As things evolve and the types of brands that go to market change and the economics of those brands change, how do you see yourself continuing to evolve? And I mean, you've been along for the ride a lot longer than most aggregators. So you've had to make some adjustments many, many times already. Where do you see yourself having to go in order to remain successful?
That's true. So BBG has been around for 15 years, and we have done a lot of changes. Also, in terms of our product portfolio, we started with DJ equipment, and then we did audio equipment, and now the majority of the stuff is actually sports and household goods. And we still do some audio and hi-fi, but it's not our core business and not our focus at all. So number one, I think, is you have to stay flexible, and you also have to kind of, and this is what we do spend a lot of time on, is continue to optimize your processes and to build ways to scale your business and ways to automate your business, and combining that, which is you need for growth, is actually with a supply chain infrastructure. We have multiple warehouses in Europe. We're constantly looking at, okay, where do we need another warehouse in order to serve our customers better, to have better delivery lead times, especially also in Eastern Europe, where they're currently waiting longer, but they're also getting used to shorter lead times. So this is what we are doing. We constantly invest in new technology. We invest in automation. We do have big initiatives on how to drive AI in all different kinds of departments. And that allowed us actually over the last few years to stay very profitable. The first transactions that we have done were actually all based on our own cash flow. We didn't even need to go to a bank or anything.
Yes.
So we are a very profitable company. We're a very aggressively growing company, and we are investing constantly in automation and processes, and also great people. So there's also a lot of job openings actually open right now.
Yeah.
But also, we invest in stock. We need to make sure that we also have enough products on hand. And I think, given that we are so big and given that we're so profitable, we have the funding to do so, and that will also, will determine, who will win in the long run. Yeah.
I want to wrap up our conversation today by asking you about this whole concept of, for investors that are so Amazon centric, that there is an inherent risk of putting so many eggs into the Amazon basket. You've already diversified beyond Amazon. But what advice would you have for investors who are thinking about buying brands that only sell on Amazon, continuing to grow them only on Amazon? That creates an awful lot of Amazon-centric risk.
I agree. And I think if they have the skills, I mean, look, I believe a lot of these acquirers, they have a lot of money, and a lot of them also have a lot of, let's say, a financial background, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they and I think what a lot of them are lacking is, really brand building expertise. One thing, and number two is actually also logistical infrastructure. Right. So, while, they can only grow on Amazon because they're utilizing Amazon's infrastructure.
Yes.
And of course, which is one way to do it, and you can do it successfully. But, we are using our own infrastructure and Amazon's, if we need to.
Yep.
And of course, we have a much better, cost structure. So we are much more profitable on this. Right. So I think, if you want to be really successful in the long run, you have to continue to build also not only your, buy more, don't buy everything on Amazon, but to kind of, think about your capabilities on how to access and connect to different marketplaces, but also how to set up your own logistical infrastructure. And that's actually a completely new ballgame.
It is.
And that's I think where the rubber hits the road, and where in the long term we will see. You'll probably see two types of companies: the ones that are getting it right and the ones who don't. And the ones who get it right will probably be the more successful ones.
Christian, I want to thank you for joining us today on the BuyBox Experts podcast. For those of you interested in learning more about Berlin brands, please visit berlin-brands-group.com. Join us again next time on the BuyBox Experts podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Getida. Getida is a global leader in Amazon FBA auditing and reimbursements. Getida analyzes your Amazon data, reconciles your FBA inventory, and files claims for reimbursements on your behalf. No obligations, no hidden fees, just Getida recovering your money. Getida helps you get your money back into your pockets so you can focus on investing in more inventory and growing your business. To learn more, check out Getida.com. That's GETIDA.com.
Thanks for listening to the BuyBox Experts podcast. Be sure to click subscribe, check us out on the web, and we'll see you next time.